Do you think Roglic would crash on Zwift? It feels like he would crash on Zwift.
Probably.
That's money you could bet on, right? If you're a betting man, bet on that guy crashing at every possible chance.
Like, I feel sorry for him because I feel like he's just like the worst of luck rider. He's really good, but like I thought he only crashes in the Tour, but nope, it's also in the Giro. So. All right, welcome back to Bespoke Endurance. Today is episode 16 of Recreational Rider to Racer podcast series, where Josh and I are transforming into racers, leveling up on the bike and in life in the midst of busy lives, work, and young families. If that is something that interests you, then hit that subscribe button and follow us along on our journey. You will not be disappointed.
You will not.
That is true.
It's a great podcast.
I'm loving it.
Okay, so today's discussion, I'm really excited about this because you and we've got a race coming up next weekend. This is your A race.
This is it. This is Cherohala.
This is the big one.
I should have worn my Cherohala shirt tonight, but I'm not.
It's disappointing that you didn't.
Yeah, I wear it like every week. And then like every video we make, I'm like, I should probably put a different shirt on.
This would have been the perfect one to wear it. All right, so we were going to talk about this race because this has been the race that you've been preparing for all year long.
Yeah.
Now, I want to get into how you're feeling, what you're excited about, all the things, but I want to first start with just kind of level set the expectations. I've never done this before.
Okay.
What should we both be expecting for this race? Kind of give me the rundown of, based on your experience that you did last year.
Okay.
What to expect this year.
So let's do this. I sent you a link. I sent you the
Ride with GPS.
The Ride with GPS, so it has the map and the elevation profile.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and pull that up. Now, for those who are only listening, we'll just kind of describe what we're looking at here.
Yep.
But Cherahala's 114 miles. It has 10,000 feet of climbing.
Woo.
So here's what you can expect. The first 40 miles...
It's so flat.
Is nothing. Like
little pancake.
It's literally just flat.
Yeah.
Think of that as like around here, like rollers on Route 8.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, there's a couple of small pitches, but like
general
just flat roads.
Yep.
So it'll be like a mass start, probably at least 200 people.
Okay.
And this was my first event where they had moto cars out on the course.
Ooh, fun.
Stopping traffic at intersections. So we just roll through. If it's anything like last year, it feels like 70% of the people have never rode a bike before. So just be like,
okay.
I'm not saying be at the very front. Just be cautious where there'd be a car in the opposite lane going the opposite direction, and people who were in our lane would swerve. And it's like, what are you all doing? So first 40 is really flat and it's really fast. It'll be like a 23 average.
Okay.
Because you're just getting pulled along.
Yeah. Everybody's just taking turns
everybody's
pulling.
Chilling. A couple bathroom breaks along the way where people are literally like in groups of the masses just pulling over to pee.
Okay.
There is a rest stop at mile 20. I would not hit that.
No, that's way too soon.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think that's for like the people who are just like,
they're just chilling.
I'm just going to ride my bike.
They're just chilling.
Yeah. For people being competitive, you're going to blow.
Yeah, you're not stopping
at
mile 20.
So the first 40 miles are dead flat. And then at mile 42 to 43, we go up into what's called the tail of the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a really big motorcycle like mecca in this region of the United States. Like I have friends that motorcycle and they're like, oh, you're doing the tail of the dragon? And I'm like,
fun.
So, and you'll see a lot of people out on their bikes, like
okay.
motorbikes. But so it'll be 2 climbs. First one is, you've got it right in front of you. What is it, like 3 miles?
It's about roughly, to about 46 is, so about 3.
Okay, so it's like a 20 to 25 minute effort.
Okay.
And then at the top, it goes down for a little bit, and then you're climbing again.
Comes back up
and
again.
then you're coming back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the second descent, it's a pretty technical descent. Now, last year, they had just repaved this whole section of the road.
Okay.
So it was
beautiful,
beautiful, buttery smooth blacktop.
Okay.
But this is a very technical part. So I am not a great descender. And this is where I would pass people who I could clearly tell I am significantly lighter than you and I'm significantly stronger than you, and then they would just go by me on these descents like I'm like a child. I was like, oh, this is embarrassing. It was, but here's the strategy though. So for the first 40, you're doing as little work as possible.
Right.
And then we have to we need to talk to our coach to get our kind of, hey, what would be a good power number to hold on
for
this
these
climb?
First two?
Because here's the
climbs.
deceiving part. You're gonna feel so fresh,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna be
want to go hard.
You're gonna be bored, because you're for 2 hours being around 200 people, and finally you're like, this is a chance to kind of break a little bit of separation from some of these people that are gonna tail off.
Right.
But you don't want to do that.
Right.
Like you don't want to burn those matches that early on.
Yeah.
And then this is really imperative, at least what I came to realize last year. When you get to the bottom of the tail of the dragon, so we're at mile
56.
56, it's a false flat until you actually get to the actual climb.
Yeah,
so
I was looking at that.
It's like a 15-mile false flat. You would be absolutely best served to try to be near people and work together and be in a group.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially on a false flat where if you're doing that solo, it's a lot more work. So then tell me about the epic climb.
Okay, so the Skyway,
big enchilada.
The big enchilada. The
road to
Skyway,
sky.
Yeah. It's like a 12-mile climb.
Yeah.
I believe it's like a 6 to 7% average. I mean, it kicks a couple times where you've got some 9s and 8s. So the pitch is very much what we have around here.
Correct.
On this side of the river. So like the greater Cincinnati, super northernmost tip of Kentucky, we've got a lot of 6 and 7, 8% climbs that are a mile. So it's just, just multiply those by 12.
Perfect.
That's what we're doing.
It never ends.
So yeah, it's definitely you are.
How long did it take you to do that last year? Give me a rough approximate
I'm trying to
estimate.
remember.
Was it an hour?
Oh, it's at least
an
an hour. I want to say between an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Maybe an hour. So what did I say? 12 miles?
12 miles.
So yeah, about an hour.
Okay.
You are climbing. It's just it's really weird. You'll pass people. You'll 30 minutes later get passed by some random person that you've not seen all day. Mm-hmm. And so it's just really it's just
sticking to your power.
It's just you versus yourself. It's just, it's.
Was there a lot of people holding the same power or a lot of people holding the same exact speed that you were going up? Were you riding up this mostly with a group of a couple other people, or was it mostly just you? Because it would be so strung out.
When I got to, and we'll get into this when we get to the fueling portion, but when I got to the actual climb, I was by myself.
Okay.
And not like a solo breakaway, I was just by myself. And so the mentally taxing part is you look up the road and you can see 50 to 100 meters up at some of the sections, like the real just straight drags.
Yep. And
you'll see people, and at one point you're like, oh, I can see myself closing the gap. And then 20 minutes later, when you still haven't caught them, you're like, I don't think I'm closing the gap anymore. And then you see them kind of riding away, and you're like, oh. And when someone passes you, that sucks too.
Yeah.
Because you're just like,
but also kudos to them for killing it.
And so go ahead. What's your question?
Well, then it really, it's the tip of this coming down the mountain. You really have it looks like you have 2 short mini climbs.
There's
so it's
2 or
not
3
a
in there.
Straight descent.
No. It's about a 45-minute descent down to get to the bottom, I'd say. So
to get to the very bottom.
So
but that includes the 2 little mini climbs out of this?
Maybe about an hour. Yeah, so from the very tip top, you're at mile 83, so you've got, what is that, 20, 30 miles left?
Yeah.
Yeah, 30.
Up until about mile 10, almost 109. That's when it goes flat again.
So
which is the end of the race.
The weird thing that you can expect, it'll be significantly colder at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So you get up there and you've been climbing, your heart rate's up, but then you start descending, and for the first 20 to 30 minutes, it's kind of chilly. Like let's say that
it's like coming off a cafe ride and then you get cold again.
Yes. Let's say that let's just use these kind of generic numbers. Let's say it's 70 degrees at the start of this thing.
Yeah.
When we get to the top, even though it'll be 4 hours later, 5 hours later, it's still going to be only like 50 degrees at the very top.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I remember last year, it was a lot more windy than what I was expecting.
Oh, okay.
So the descent, the first half of the descent down, I was like kind of riding the brakes a little too hard.
Okay.
Because I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
It does, as you get these little pitches in the middle of the climb, I'd say they are anywhere between 1 and 3 minute efforts.
Okay,
But
nice.
like enough to be like, oh, I'm climbing again. Not like just a bump, but like
it's just a little,
I have to, like I'm not just straight descent, like I'm climbing.
You're climbing again, yeah.
And by that point, it's really like your body starts feeling really weird because on one end,
because that's at mile. The second one of that coming down is at almost mile 93.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you've put a lot of work up to that point, and then you're starting to feel real tired.
Well, it's weird because you've descended, so you're feeling like, oh, I feel a little recovered, but your legs have 93 miles in them, so they're kind of shot. And that's, that
makes sense.
It's 93 miles, but with 10,000 feet of elevation. Yeah. So it's not like just going out and cruising around like a little stroll around the block.
Yeah.
When I remember the last 10 miles when you get to that portion. So like right around
you're just descending going into a flat.
Well, I remember by that point, and this will be our plan for Friday night. So when we go to get packet registration, we'll ride up backwards.
Okay.
For like an hour and get a feel of the descent coming down. So I remember that little recon ride with Derek the night before really helped me have confidence where I was very aggressively riding, because the wind by that point, like you're more covered because you're kind of not up there anymore, like super high elevation. The temps warmed up, and I remember feeling like, oh, I can super tuck here, and like because I did it last night and it was fine. Like I was following Derek's wheel the night before and really riding aggressive to be like, how can I do this tomorrow? And so that really helped a ton.
Yep. So you felt great the last 10 miles.
Yes. And then when you get to the
recon.
flat section, you're just kind of, it depends on what you want to do. I was with a group of 3 and I was trying to give every little ounce left in the tank. So I was going really a high tempo at the end. And I was pretty cooked at the end.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
How are you feeling about it? Because this is very different from a triathlon. This is very different from hill intervals around here.
Yeah, I'm honestly really excited about it.
Okay.
I certainly feel that obviously this is not my A race, and that's okay. I'm still very excited to be able to do this with you. I think it's gonna be super fun. We've got another buddy who I'm excited to meet that's gonna also ride with us too, that lives here. And in terms of the training, I really feel pretty well prepared, even though this is not my A race. Just in terms of overall fitness, the amount of intervals, the periodization that our coaches had me on recently leading up to this, knowing that this was a part of the race, series that I'm doing, is doing these longer interval stints, doing them even without erg mode on, trying to get a little bit more of that feel. Shout out to any of those doing no erg mode. A quick way to make Greg happy, just talk about erg mode being off. But I think in terms of just this race itself, I feel prepared for it as much as humanly possible without ever having done this course. I'm really thankful to have you who's done this as well, and our coach, to have somebody to say, yeah, this is what you can expect, even kind of talking through the course itself, which is going to be extremely helpful going into this where you've already had somebody who's been there, done that, and can actually tell you, hey, I'd consider doing this. This is what I would consider doing based on my experience last year. So in that sense, I feel really good about. There's a couple of things I'll be really curious about in terms of just actual race itself, where I think a couple of things that stand out to me, probably in three things where just in terms of my leveling up. The first one is, and we've talked about this a little bit, especially with me climbing, is really trying to understand as a racer, somebody who's new to racing, towing that line of where you go into the red, but then you're able to recover. And really that comes with experience. That also comes with like understanding what you can and can't do in terms of your power. Depends on, what you're able to hold and not hold in certain circumstances. And I don't know that I fully know that, and I fully have unlocked that as a racer. And honestly, there's probably no way that I could have at this point, because I've only done a few races,
right?
And I haven't done a race like this. So especially with climbing. So I think that's one thing I'll be curious about, where it'll be a really interesting dynamic to try and balance that, to see like, okay, I'm going to go into the red, but I know that eventually I'm going to recover. But then where is that fine line of what, am I overextending myself, or am I just right there that I can still keep pushing and I'm still really working really hard, and yet knowing that I'm like, hey, I'm in a race. Yeah, this is, it sucks. But at the same time, like, this is racing. You
Right.
have to be able to go into the red because everybody else is.
Well, I mean,
So,
this is, I hate it. Like, it's technically more of, I'd say this is more like a fondo.
yeah.
So it's not a straight up, like, they're
Yeah.
going to have a first place and they're going to give a sweet kit too.
Yeah.
But everybody else is just like, I mean, you'll get
Yeah.
a medal for breaking 7 hours. You'll break 7.
Yeah.
So here,
But-
to go with what you're saying,
Yeah.
I think the moment where that could really happen is the first set of climbs, the tail of the dragon. So right at mile 44,
Yeah.
that's when you're going to be fresh, and that's when it's going to separate, where
Yeah.
strong people or people that are going to be feeling antsy are going to go. When I went last year, I was with Derek up the first climb.
Okay.
As soon as we hit the first descent with the first corner, I was like, oof,
He was just more confident in
yeah,
descending.
they just went around these corners, and I was
Yep.
like, well, see ya.
Yeah.
I think that this course is going to actually surprise you, and it's going to play to some of your triathlon strengths. Where,
Which are
well, no, like when you did your Ironman,
Yeah.
you are really trying to hold a power consistent for 112 miles, or as close as you
Yeah.
can. And although this is not 112 miles, it's an hour to hour and 15-minute section of just holding a consistent
Yeah.
power. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple moments where it's going to pitch down or flatten, but you're really just holding a
Just
power.
trying to hold
and I
power.
think that, if you're going to test yourself and, quote, go into the red on the Skyway, I would wait until the last 2 miles.
yeah.
And that's when it's like, if you want to send it on the last 2 miles up, go for it.
Yeah.
But, definitely go in to the beginning and just think, okay, hit that lap button, get your average power on the screen, and
Yeah.
just try to just kind of stay around there.
Yeah.
If you feel good halfway through, maybe then pick it up some.
Right. But
But-
don't go out too hard, because
Right.
that'll be my first mistake, is going out too fast, thinking I'm feeling really good, and I'm like, oh man, I can hold this power, and then it's all of a sudden I'm at mile 6 into the climb, and I'm like, I can't hold this power. It's starting to drop. But in terms of the other thing that I'll be curious about too is just the descending part of it.
Yeah.
Because really,
It's a fun descent.
I know, and that's where like we did cores.
Yeah.
But we did it in the rain.
That
And
was not fun.
It was not.
Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that, because Gary listened. The race was fun. Descending in the rain
It was sketch.
not fun.
Yeah,
The
I
race
agree.
was a blast.
The race was amazing.
Yes. I want to make sure I get that correct.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. I knew where you're going with it. I think the thing that'll be really interesting is what I've truly never experienced in a race, such as Cherohala, like this one that we're going to be doing, is a really long descent. And in terms of just being able to really tap into that technical side of it, where it's like I don't know what that's going to feel like, but I'm like really excited for it, because most of what we've done, even just on group rides and even in cores, for example, where it's like you do have some fun descents and it's great. The only challenge is they don't last very long.
Right.
And so they don't feel they don't feel like you're actually using some more skills in those. You're using a little bit for maybe a couple of turns, but then it's like, okay, the descent's over. Now you're back on flat. Whereas this one, it is really a pretty long descent, even though there's a couple pitches like what you're saying to where you're like, okay, I'm climbing again. But essentially, you're going to have a lot of this being in the descent, the tail end of this ride, which will be really fun because I've never really experienced that before. And so I'm excited to kind of tap into that part of racing where I'm just like, maybe I'm just inspired by Tom Pidcock videos, and then you're like, it's like nobody can do it as good as him.
Don't try what he does, though.
No, but let me ask you this.
Well, hang on. I do want to say one thing before we move on from that. Yeah. Something that you said was interesting. So I think this is a good test of actual descending skills versus what we have around here. So when we descend the same stuff around here, you practice on that descent for that descent. Mm-hmm. So you probably get better at descending that hill, but those skills don't always carry over to a corner that you don't know.
Correct.
So I know what I do is when I get to the top and I'm descending, I have my route on the map. So I can at least hopefully see, this is a switchback turn, or I need to like be braking heavier into this than like just cruising into it.
Yeah.
But does that make sense?
It does. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's very true because I think because of the length of this, having the route map, which I'll have it loaded. And I think especially when that comes to the part where you're starting to descend, switching over to that and looking at that to be like the key indicator, be like, okay, I've got a turn coming up, or, it's like, I got to look at this a little bit more closely than I would just on a group ride where I wouldn't look at that. It's like, whatever. It's a couple turns.
The descent here around here. Whereas on this, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I will say this, the guy that won last year, his average descent on the way down was like 45 miles per hour.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Dang.
His average speed the whole way down.
Was his name Safa Brian? Was he?
I can't. I think he was. I feel like I remember him he was on a Trek. I think like a red Trek.
Okay.
But I remember looking at all of his. He like for the day he had every segment because there's 3 or 4 descent sections. Basically, it's like here's the descent, and then when you hit those little climbs,
and then you come back down,
then it's a different segment.
Yeah.
They may have had one full segment on the way down.
Yeah, but he gained a lot of minutes just descending on descending skills.
I lost a lot of minutes on the descent. That would be my what
are you excited about? Tell me about your how are you feeling going into this, because this is your A race. Tell me where you're at with this.
So what I want to do, where I want to see improvement is obviously in the climbing. I think last year when I got to the last 2 or 3 miles, I was starting to fatigue, and you start to mentally fatigue where you're just kind of spacing out. You're not as focused. You're just kind of like, I don't know. It's not that you zone out, but you're not hyper focused on your performance like you were at the beginning when you're fresh. You just get fatigued. So you're kind of like, I don't know. So,
what's going through your mind? How did that play out mentally? Because mental discipline is a huge component of racing. And I am wanting to tap into this even more as a racer. Still learning a ton, but I'm curious about your mental. Do you remember that? Like when you started seeing your power drop, when you started hitting that, or like, man, this is like, I've got 2 more miles-ish of this, long climb, but you're starting to feel it a lot. What was going through your mind? Like, are you telling yourself
I don't remember the specifics, but I do roughly remember battling the thought of, oh, well, who cares at this point? Like that's a kind of thing that I find myself when I start to get in trouble. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, who cares? Like I'm just going to get to the top of this point. Like I'm not going to push into that red any longer, or it's like, well, it's almost like I start to justify.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so if I'm 5 minutes slower at this point, what does it matter? Like I'm just like, I just kind of rationalize and talk myself out of what I'm trying to do. So I think for me, it'll be a big trying to just be consistent to the end and not mentally just be like, who cares at this point? Like, And then the descent, I don't want to like full send it like Pidcock, but I do feel more confident
in your descending skills
in my descending this year versus last year, just in general. And knowing, I think when I got to the top, because it was pretty windy or breezy or windier than I was expecting, that kind of threw me. So I think knowing that going in will be
it'll give you an advantage.
It'll give me a little bit of an edge there, because I mean, I was, for the first 20 minutes, I was riding my brakes.
Yeah,
like I was pedaling and riding my brakes. I was so spooked.
Yeah,
and so I'm not saying I want to take any risks. I don't want to take any risks and be crazy, but I think that I've practiced and gotten better
at your descending.
At descending, yeah. So I think last year my ride time was 6:17.
Okay.
My accumulated time was 6:27.
Okay.
So that's including like the couple the pit stops, which we'll get into here in a little bit. So, oh man, I don't know. Mike, the guy we're going with, he says he was like 6:02.
Yeah.
And he had to wait to regroup. He probably could have cracked, or maybe he did crack 6.
Okay.
One of the guys that's going down, he cracked 6 last year.
Yeah.
But part of that's the refueling strategy. So we'll get into that here, but I don't know.
But let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Because we've talked a lot about this, but do you know your watts per kilo right now with climbing? Because it plays an important role in this. But tell me how you're feeling about.
So I'm like right around 150 pounds, 68 kilos. Oh, it's more than I thought. Jeez. So 68 kilos.
You're heavier than you thought.
Yeah. And then
what does that translate to
I think FTP, if I were to guess right now, I'd probably say around 280.
Yeah.
I think it's gone up.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
So that puts me about a 4.12.
Ooh.
It's weird. Like I ran into the same thing last year. Like I can lose weight easily in like January, February. And like when I go back to school, like August, September, like Derek and I were going to do this race in, October last year down in Georgia, and I was like, I got down to like 143.
Yeah.
And I was like, heck yeah. And then we couldn't go to the race. Like some stuff happened.
Yeah.
And, but like,
so you ballooned up.
Yeah. Because I was like, I was like, for Cherohala, just lose weight. And then like, it just hasn't come off in these months. And it was the same thing last year. Like I was 153 last year at Cherohala.
Yeah.
So it's just something like there's time I've noticed like over the last 3 years, there's times of the year it seems like where my weight comes down easier than others. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like to me what I'm hearing you say is you're gaining weight and I'm losing weight.
Yep.
Wow. How does that make you feel? Give me your feedback on that. Respond to that. Because you've called me fat in a variety of ways over the last few months where, someone like me, little old me, I need a little bit of
Can we, for the
here.
Context of this, finally put this to rest and clarify this?
Our coach loves it when we get into the weight debate because he's like, no. It doesn't matter.
Here's how this all started.
Yeah,
we were taking some pictures for thumbnails for the channel.
Yep.
And I was in a kit, and you took a picture. And you're like, "Hey, let's redo that, or suck your gut in because you look pudgy." All right. And I said,
I don't remember saying pudgy. But I could have.
But the very next picture, when it was your turn, your literal stomach was hanging out the bottom of your kit.
Wow.
And you looked like you had a beer belly.
Oh, here it is.
Because I remember, can we find these pictures? Do we still have these somewhere?
You think I'm going to post these pictures online?
I'll put them in the B-roll.
You have access to our Dropbox
I remember, like, you said that, and Derek's like, oh, it's funny he called you fat. And then I was like, dude, your stomach is literally hanging out the bottom. So,
wow. You see what I have to put up with? Send me, I'd love to hear some comments on encouragement. I weigh 156 right now. So anybody out there, give me some love.
So what is that? Hang on, that's normally 6 pounds. What is that, like 2 kilos? So is that 2 kilos?
Yeah.
Or is that like? So that's like 8 to 10 watts difference. So so when you're putting out like 260 and I pedal past you at 250, you're gonna be like, crap.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably just try and push you. We'll just do a little shove during the race. Let me ask you this: is there anything you are nervous about for this race?
A little. the stuff that's out of your control, the other people.
Yeah.
When
Makes
you're,
sense.
it feels cool at first, like, oh man, there's like, this feels like a Peloton, but then you're like, it's like when you go skiing and you don't know how other people are on the slopes. Like,
Yeah.
So, you know, the guy next to you could be a Cat 1 guy.
Yep.
The guy next to you can be a state champion in a road race. The guy next to you could be, I'm just happy to be here.
Yep.
And I'm not
chilling.
I'm not comfortable on a bike. And so that first 40 miles, you're chilling, but you still have to be careful. Like there was a crash last year that happened behind me. Like I think I remember where it happened. Like I had just missed it because I was trying to surge back up kind of to the front because, and this kind of goes back to what we've talked about. I'm not yet good at like fighting and holding a position. Like as soon as I like fall off a wheel a little bit, someone just takes that spot, and next thing I know, I'm getting shuffled back.
And you're like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
So that happened a lot last year, and I was like, so I'm.
You're
like,
too Midwest nice. You know?
Yeah, I'm too. It's something, but and so I think that part is kind of where I'm like, okay, I want to be
more aggressive.
You have to just be alert. You don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to burn the matches
Right.
on the easy flat 40-mile section where it's like I just have to sit in here and draft.
Yeah.
But you just got to still be careful.
Yeah,
because
that makes
there's
sense.
just a lot of people around you.
Yep.
So
I get that.
what about any nerves for you, or do you feel like you cover them with the climb?
Yeah, I think really there's not really nerves going into this. I think there will probably be more nerves going into my A race crit, and because that's just I've just built that up more in my mind.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's honestly mostly part of it's mostly it. I think for this one, it's more. I never really get nervous for races. It's really just more of excitement. But I think more in terms of what would be maybe considered like I could also overthink things too. You know, where I like think about, oh man, well, what if this happens? What if it's like, yeah, there's always stuff that's going to happen during a race that's out of your control, and I think that's part of it. You just have to adapt in the moment and be like, oh, okay, well, this is where it's at. So
I think the stuff that makes me nervous in general are the things that are generally speaking out of my control.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
So, all right. Let us know, how do you prepare for a race with a lot of climbing, or a Fondo event, or a ride with your buddies that has a lot of climbing? Do you live in a really hilly or mountainous area where you're able to get on 20 plus minute section climbs? Is that something that you are able to do or not? Let us know in the comments what you do.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, so before we get into our next section, we want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Road ID, for not only supporting our podcast, but also letting us film right here in their headquarters. If you're a cyclist, runner, or just someone who wants that peace of mind while out on the road, Road ID has got you covered. Their medical IDs provide crucial info in case of an emergency, and honestly, they look great too. That is absolutely true. Do yourself a favor. Check out roadid.com. Grab one today. Big thanks to the team at Road ID for their support. Second, we want to give a huge mention for the Kentucky Open Road Race Series. We're partnering to bring you an exclusive deal. So if you're looking to race in the Kentucky Open Road Race Series this season, use the code BESPOKE15. That's BESPOKE15 at checkout for 15% off your registration. Whether you're a seasoned racer or just getting started, Coors has something for every level cyclist. Head over to KentuckyORRS.com. Use the code BESPOKE15 at checkout. And
also be entered to win a Cannondale Super 6 Evo 4.
I knew I was missing something.
It's okay.
That's it.
So if you sign up to race or volunteer,
that's right,
you are entered to win a free bike, and for every race that you do, it's one more entry. So
super dope.
We just finished Course 2 about a month ago. Yeah. So Course 3 is the week after Cherohala.
Yeah,
that's we can't
make that. No. We got Course 4 though.
4 is also the Kentucky State Championships for Kentucky residents. So pick up, if you win that race, you get a sweet state championship jersey.
Ooh, Greg is calling your name, baby.
That would be awesome. That and a free bike. That would be even just as cool.
There you go. I'm going to ask you this, Greg. We're getting into our next session on nutrition for this race. Mm-hmm. How do we want to kick this off? Let's talk about, do you want to talk about the aid stations? Because
Okay,
this is
yeah.
a long race.
Yeah.
Minimum 6 hours, but most likely a little above 6 hours for us. How are you planning to fuel this ride?
Okay. So I'm not going to go too much into like every product.
Right.
Because we already covered that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
if you haven't watched that video, check out the link. We'll link it right here.
So my plan is 100 to 120 grams of carbs an hour.
Yep.
The first hour or two will be bottle and then some chews. And then I'll transition to straight bottle and gels. And I think what I might do for the descent is kind of just do water.
Oh, interesting.
Like I do feel like by the time you're 5 hours into heavy carbs, you're kind of like, I just want some water.
Yeah, I get that, but you don't want to drop your fuel though.
Well,
last hour of the race.
I guess instead of having 2 bottles each with high carb and high electrolyte, I might do 1 bottle high carb and high electrolyte and then 1 just water that I can spray on my face or just take a sip of regular water while I still am fueling at the end there.
I get that.
Okay, so this is what I think is really interesting about this race. And this is a kind of make it or break it thing for an event like this, like a super long, whether you want to call it a road race or an event or a fondo, it's not, there are aid stations where they have bathrooms and food and water, and it depends on, you can spend as much or as little time at these stations.
Yeah.
So do you still have your like course
I've got it
map
still pulled up.
Okay.
Yep.
So when I did, I felt really good about what I did last year, but it was still like, I still lost 10 minutes total of accumulated time.
Right.
So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are 6 stops on the course. I stopped at 2. So this is what I did last year that I'm probably going to repeat this strategy this year. So
yep, lay it on me.
The first stop is at mile 20.
Not stopping there.
Don't waste your time with that.
Right.
All right. The next stop is at mile 41.
Mm-hmm.
Don't waste your time there.
Okay.
The third stop is the one that I stopped at. It's mile 61.
Okay.
And this is where it can be a make or break. So I took 3 bottles with me last year. I had 2 on the bike and then
1 in the jersey.
1 in the jersey, and I finished that one. And as soon as I finished, I swapped them out. And
Yep.
then, so I stopped at mile 61 to fill up 2 bottles and to pee real quick. So total, I would say 5 minutes that I lost at that stop. Just going to the bathroom, filling my bottles.
You're just peeing on the side of the road.
No, I stopped at the.
They have like porta-johns.
Well, no, they told me to pee in the bushes. They didn't have a porta-john at this one. So I got off and I like.
There's a guy directing you to pee in the bush.
There was a woman, yeah. I got off and she's like, "What do you need?" Because she could see I was kind of like in a panic, like I'm trying to go really fast. And she was like, "What do you need?" I was like, "Bathroom." She goes, "Bushes." I go, "Thank you. Can you fill these up?" So she filled up my water for me.
Oh, wow.
While I went and peed, and then I dumped my like.
Is there a lot of volunteers at these aid stations?
Yes. So usually about 5 to 10 volunteers at each station. So here's what I did last year. I stopped at mile 61, and that's after the Tail of the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I had all 3 bottles. I try to do a bottle an hour.
Right.
The thing I'm going to do a little different this year is not force a bottle an hour down, but make it last more like an hour and 20 to hour and a half.
Okay.
When I ride now, and I've been training the last few weeks of like high carb intake, that's kind of the pacing I've been at. When I try to force a whole bottle of liquid in an hour, by the time I got to hour 4 on the climb, I could feel my stomach starting to like feel tight and just GI issues.
Yep. Makes sense.
There's a bunch of climbs on the way up the Skyway. The last stop is at the very top of the mountain. That was my second stop.
Okay.
So I filled up there, and then you just hit the descent.
Right.
So last year I stopped for twice total. Now, some strategies that I've talked to some different people, I keep tossing the idea of doing a hydro pack, and it would look so stupid, but I'm like, I would not have to stop at all.
You wouldn't have to stop at all. And the only people who think it's stupid are the people that it doesn't matter what they think anyways.
Exactly.
So
Now,
Why do you not want to do the hydro pack?
I don't know, because there's a part of me that like.
I mean, would I make fun of you? Absolutely.
Yes, there's the part of me that's like the elitist, like this is not a gravel race. So there's a freaking road race. Suck it up, man.
Gravel guys and gals will love you for this.
Yes.
They'll
Now,
love you for this. You could be a trendsetter.
Here's a strategy that we might need to do. So
do you look fatter in like with the pack
you look
on?
fat with a giant bottle tucked in your shirt. I've already covered that ground. The guy that a friend of mine who broke 6 hours last year, he did big bottles.
Yeah.
He stopped once.
Ooh.
It was at the very top of the mountain.
Yep.
So at that point you are 83 miles in.
Yeah.
And his dad was there.
Oh.
So he pulled up. His dad had 2 water bottles. He handed them to him.
That's
and
nice.
he said he stopped for 30 seconds.
Oh, that's real nice.
And that's where it's
They
like,
shaved a lot of time off.
yeah. And so I'm like, maybe,
Do you know if he peed on the bike?
I don't know.
I did that in my full Ironman. Now, full Ironman is obviously different. It's obviously much longer, just in total duration of the actual event. But I really had to practice peeing on the bike. And once I unlocked that ability to do that, because it takes you a while to do that.
I don't know if I'd be able to relax.
It was really, I don't know if I'd be able to pull it off on a climb.
So hang on,
But
when
it
you
was
say
really
pee on the
interesting.
bike, you're not saying like Tom.
I'm just peeing my bib shorts.
Okay, so you're
I'm
not
just
like
straight
able
peeing.
to.
So
Okay.
whoever's behind me is getting that beautiful gust of just pee coming at them. And
Well, some cyclists can pee like.
yeah, they can pee where they can do it where they're like standing up and doing it.
Yes.
I couldn't do that. What I'm talking about is just straight peeing my bib shorts.
Okay.
And it was fantastic.
Well,
it felt like I unlocked a different side of cycling that, yeah, a lot of other people didn't or don't want to do.
Hey, well, hang on. This is in a triathlon
Yeah.
after the swim,
Yeah.
so you're already soaking wet.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, but
it does.
well,
Like, it matters a little.
Not really. If you're telling me I could potentially shave off an extra 5 to 10 minutes just by peeing on my bike, that's racing.
Well, what I was gonna say is somewhere around mile 20.
Would you be okay if it was that pee somehow got on you during
No,
the
I would
race?
not.
Would you?
No.
If you were next to me?
Last year, I remember there was like mile 20, like 30 guys all pulled over and just
Yeah.
peed on this guardrail. So I was terrified. Oh, if I pull over and pee right now, I won't be able to catch up. But I know that in the first 40 miles, it's going to be super easy to catch up to that
Right.
pack. So
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
probably just do that.
Okay.
Just pee in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like on the side of the road or something. I don't know. I think I might emulate the strategy I did last year.
Could we ask that friend, his dad, if he's willing to,
we can
if we give him some extra bottles to just be there and
tip him.
yeah.
Here's $10.
Are you kidding me? $10?
I would
That's
pay
worth
$10.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if that
You
happens,
get your own
then,
bottles. You get your
Yeah,
absolutely.
if that happens, then I think we could do that strategy, larger bottles,
yeah,
and just maybe 3, and just make it to.
try and make it
80.
to the top.
Gosh, that's like still 5 hours. Though.
That's a lot.
5 hours on 3 bottles.
I would be risking underfueling, and that's
Yeah.
why I would not want to do it in something where, especially in a longer race, where it's like shorter race, you can get away with it a little bit.
I'm
but-
also debating having like 5 bottles on me.
Yeah, you should. You'd look great. There goes your watts per kilos. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You should do that. Okay, we'd actually love to hear from you guys. How do you feel for a race? And if you've done long races or even long events, what has been your strategy for some of these aid stations with them? We'd love to hear what you guys think, and any hot tips are most welcome. So let us know.
Definitely. Okay, let's do a quick family and cycling hacks update, or
Yeah.
just we try to make this a point of the show where we do have jobs and families and training. I'd say like my training this last week was like 12 hours, which was a lot.
Yeah,
like
big week.
and so and I know some people are going to listen to this and be like 12 hours is nothing. I'm 15, I'm 20, but the circumstances of my life don't allow that, and that's okay with me.
No, 12 is 12 is solid.
Yeah.
For
So
most people.
what? I want to kick it to you first. Anything from this week or the last few weeks sticking out to you that's like, okay, this is how I've kind of incorporated family life into this, and it's been good.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's really been fun, what was really life-giving was recently, this past weekend was, I went camping. I took my boy camping. So we did it overnight. We went camping about 30 minutes away from us, and it was awesome. So I'm trying to make it like an annual father-son thing to just kind of just disconnect, get away, just get that one-on-one quality time with him. And I think these are really important moments to prioritize in the midst of me doing all these races, all these different events where my wife is super gracious, is super supportive in, what we're doing with this, but then also on top of that, like being able to do these rides and things like that. So it was just sort of a really good reminder of really trying to not miss some of these key moments that are really important for him, but then just really life-giving as a dad. That gave me so much energy just knowing that I had another good camping trip with him in the books. And it's like, I hope these become core memories for him. So, and I think that's really important in the midst of always having, like, both of us very busy dads, both of us have young kids, but at the same time, it was really sweet. And then just the other night too, last night we were going to do a Tuesday Night Worlds, like a fast group ride. And it was one of those circumstances where it just ended up kind of raining, misting, and we were both like, yeah, let's not risk it. But, it was actually really fun because at the end of it, like we were putting together this new dresser, my wife and I, after the kids went down for bed, and we were just talking, hanging out. We had like a glass of wine. And so it was just fun. Like she was like, it's really nice having you home. This is really fun. And this is great. And she's like, I know you're going to do your group ride, but she's like, this kind of was like a really great night. And I was like, oh, yeah, this was really fun. So it's those surprises of like trying to really remember in the midst of everything that I want to do, everything that I'm like selfish in a positive way, but selfish about where I'm like, I'm excited for this to be gone for Cherohala and like to do this race. At the same time, really remembering that like, if I'm not taking care of my family, if I'm not being a good dad, if I'm not being a present husband, things like that, then it's like, this is all for nothing. So
right.
I think just that dynamic of really being fully present, being able to not miss these key things like that is really important. So it's been good. I've been very encouraged by those two things, even just this past like week. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. How about you?
I had a cool one. So my oldest is he's 10, and we just upgraded his bike size. Like he outgrew his old one, so he's on a bigger bike now. And so Saturday I did my earliest ride yet. I met up with you, and I was on the road at 4 a.m.
That was crazy.
And I did like 5 hours and 40-minute ride.
Yeah.
And so I got a little bit of like a mini nap in Saturday. We had a very chill Memorial Day weekend. Like we had nothing on the calendar, which was just awesome.
Yep.
And so Sunday, my ride was 30-minute recovery ride. And for that, it's like, there is no, just do something on your bike for 30 minutes. It does not matter.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I could hop on the trainer. I could just get out in the neighborhood for 30. And instead I was like, I'm going to see if Griff wants to go ride bikes. And so we loaded up the bikes and we went to Lunkin.
Yep.
And we rode for 30 minutes.
Lunkin, for those who are listening, flat loop.
Yes.
Yep.
5 mile
flat loop.
Flat loop around an airport. And it connects to it doesn't matter what it connects to. It's a flat loop.
Yeah. No, keep going.
So we went and did that. And it was,
what did he say after the ride?
He was, at first he was hesitant, like, I guess. And then when we went and he realized like, oh, we're going to get the car ride up together. So like, even though it's a 30-minute ride, it's still a 25-minute ride to get there, 30-minute ride, 25-minute ride. So it ended up it was the most fun I've had riding a bike with him because finally he's at a point where, especially on his bigger bike, he can ride a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And he can ride next to me. So I got home and I was telling Jess, I was like, it was one of the best rides I've had. She's like, why? I was like, because it felt like when I just go for a ride with my friends and we're just chatting. Like we're just on bikes, just having a conversation. Like when you and I will go out on a ride, it just felt like that. Like, so he's just riding next to me and we're just chatting, and it was just fun. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is totally awesome. And I'm still getting my like 30-minute session in. So it was
Yeah.
great.
You didn't drop him. You didn't try and drop him on the end of that
He
course.
tried to drop me.
Did he? Was he able to hold power?
So we went down
He's
this
able to get
little.
away.
We went down this little
Mile
hill.
4, man, he got away from me. I couldn't.
I told
couldn't hang on
him
his wheel.
there was like 2 sections where he like hammered, and we went down
love
this
that.
little hill, and I was like, okay, like ride your brakes. You don't have to do whatever you're comfortable with. And he got to the bottom, let off, and just took off. And I was like, that little turd. So
Look
like
at
I was
he's
like,
learning from you.
I
He's
had to,
learning.
I had to
He's
like
learning
put
from
in
Pops.
a dig to catch him. I was like, I looked down. I'm like, this recovery ride. Why am I hitting 300 watts to catch my 10-year-old son?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. No, honestly, that's really good.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Okay, so we'd love to hear from you guys as well. Just what are some of your hacks that you do at home to balance family life? Whether it's racing or training, we'd love to hear some of those things from you guys as well, especially for those that are parents. It can be absolutely insane. So we'd love to hear if you have any cool hacks or things that you do to kind of balance family life with that.
let's do some This Week in Cycling.
I love it.
Okay, so Strava uses AI to crack down on cheaters. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay.
This is brand new to me.
So Strava, there's
Tell me about
there's
this.
been a few news articles this week. They are using AI to try and detect not just speed variances, but elevation, heart rate, like all these metrics that they're machine learning to try to find people that either cheat on their ride or mislabel their ride. So
Oh.
example is like
Yep.
their numbers more look like they're consistently on an e-bike and they go do a ride and they label it bike ride, or they do a mountain bike ride and they hop in their car and they
Yeah.
take a segment going 50 miles per hour when
Yeah.
it's like a 25 mile per hour segment. So,
Yes.
but they've cracked down on 4.5 million people taking away KOMs and leaderboard stuff in the last in this calendar year so far.
It's a lot of cheaters out there. Are you one of those cheaters?
I'm not,
Don't
but
be.
I love this. I think it's
No.
great because now I don't have to report people.
You know what? I've had a couple of times where you've been in the top 10 on like a climb or a local, KOM type of thing. And you do, and I remember one thing in particular where there was just the top two people. It's like you knew these were cars,
Yep.
and you're just like, there's no way they're averaging 30 miles an hour up
on
this.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was
Do
like,
you report them?
Yeah, I did, and I was just,
Good.
I'm excited to hear the AI.
We're coming after you.
Yeah, if you're cheating, stop cheating. But it is ridiculous. Like it's silly. Where I'm like, why do people do this? But I'm excited to hear that AI can help crack down on that.
Well, I think, okay, so I do think that there's a level of, I know a mountain biker and there is a level of accidental. So I know mountain bikers that do Strava on their phone
Okay.
and they do the trail, throw the bike in the car and then drive home and just forget to stop the ride. So it's there are people who unintentionally will, because you can look at it and go, this is clearly a mountain bike ride because you're on the trails and then you are on the road going 45 miles per hour up a hill. Oh, clearly you forgot to stop the ride. So I think that there's accidental cheaters, but I definitely think there are people that cheat at Strava, which is
It's wild.
pretty low.
It's pretty low.
It's
You gotta be.
Have you heard of the people that cheat on Zwift?
No.
Have you not? So
No.
Derek and I were talking about this. People will put in substantially lower weight.
Oh.
So when they
they're
go up the
last-
climbs, they can hit 6 watts per kilo
That's ridiculous.
because they'll just put themselves at 100 pounds. And so when they're doing 100 or 300 watts, it looks like they're just
they're just cruising.
flying up this thing.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So-
I'll do that. That's actually an interesting hack.
Okay,
funny.
let's definitely let's have a little bit of Giro talk. Giro Italia.
Dude. Okay, I'll kick it over to you first.
Okay.
So right now we've just when the time that we're recording this, stage 17
Yes.
has happened.
So when this goes live, it'll be the last day.
Should be the last
so
day.
you guys know officially before us right now what has happened.
You're in the future. I'm curious to get your thoughts, just big picture.
Yeah.
This year compared to other years.
Okay.
What have been your thoughts on this year's Giro d'Italia?
It's been super exciting because it's as fun as it is to watch Tade ride everybody off his wheel and win by like 9 minutes. This has been so far we are stage 17 and the top 3 guys are within 40 seconds of each other.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The biggest things that have stuck out to me was I'm not into sports betting. And if I was, I would have lost a ton of money on this so far because I had Roglic as like winning it and Ayuso second and maybe giving him a run for his money. And
do you think Roglic would crash on Zwift? It feels like he would crash on Zwift.
Probably.
That's money you could bet on, right? If you're a betting man, bet on that guy crashing at every possible chance.
Like, I feel sorry for him because I feel like he's just like the worst of luck rider.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, you do feel bad. He's really good.
He's really good.
It's
and
just,
he
crashes a lot.
I mean, he had 3 or 4 crashes in this one, and then
I believe at least 2, and then maybe 3. Yeah.
So my initial my thought was he was going to win.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, he's a seasoned Grand Tour winner.
Yeah.
He's patient. He's really good, but like I thought he only crashes in the Tour, but nope, it's also in the Giro. So, and then Ayuso, I don't know what the heck happened to that guy, but on stage 16, he lost like 14 minutes.
Yeah, I said this earlier, but I do think that at that point, whenever he started dropping, I think so much of that is just him completely kind of bowing out, where he just realized, hey, it's over. There's no need for me to try and keep pushing. If he's already lost, like during the stage, was it today or yesterday that they lost that much time?
It was stage 16.
So yesterday when he lost all that time.
Yeah.
I imagine, I'm just guessing, purely speculating, but it's like, I imagine because he was, if you're starting to lose a couple minutes and then you're realizing like, there's no way I'm going to be able to make this up, just whatever, mental state that he's in, probably just seemed like he kind of probably gave up and just was like, cool, not going to happen this tour. It doesn't matter. So
I'm curious because I was listening to the Move podcast,
mm-hmm.
and one of the things that they were talking about was when you have a team that's got 4 or 5 guys that are all potential GC guys, it makes it really hard as to who is working for who.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas like right now, like Visma, everybody's working for Simon Yates.
Right.
And it's very apparent. Whereas like UAE, it's like, I mean, at one point they had 4 guys in the top 10.
I know, it's absolutely wild.
Like any one of them could beat the other guy.
Right. But what do you think about Del Toro?
It's been awesome.
Yeah. So today's stage was particularly really fun.
Yes.
Because yesterday's stage in stage 16, I mean, Richard Carapaz, he put a crazy dig in.
Yeah.
And I mean, Del Toro, you could just tell he was struggling to get to that finish line, and he just, he lost time. He still maintained the pink jersey, but then today was fun because he just made a statement where he's like,
if it was like a boxing match, Carapaz delivered a strong right hook yesterday.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, that one's not going to knock him out, but the next little jab's going to take him out of this. And today he just shows up and he doesn't deliver as devastating of a right hook, but he makes a statement that says, no, I'm still here. He goes on to win the stage, get the time bonus, and win it in a way that wasn't as commanding as Carapaz on stage 16, but enough to be like, hey, I'm not gone. I'm still here. Yeah. So I loved that.
Yes. How do you respond? It's like, that's the thing that we talked about when we were texting about this. So it's that idea of like, how will Del Toro respond? Because he's so young. This is his first Grand Tour, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, the dude's been in pink for a good majority of it. And so you're just like, but that was his first stage where it's like, ooh, now it's in trouble. And then all of a sudden it's like, how are you going to respond to this? And I love today's response.
I want to see now how is Carapaz going to respond? What is he thinking? Because he delivers a massive right hook yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And he's thinking, I've got this guy, like just a little bit of a dig now and he's done. And then he gets attacked today.
Mm-hmm.
and this guy goes on to win the stage.
Yep.
That has to be a mental blow.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, he gave a phenomenal performance yesterday on stage 16. And it's like, how do you come back from that of going, I just gave one of my best performances. And now the very next day, this guy's like, I'm still here. What else do you got? Like, oh.
It'll be really, and I will say this. I agree with you that it's like it is really fun when you really don't know who the winner's going to be. And I think that's what makes it so exciting this year is because if Tade was in this, it'd already be like, okay, well, who's going to come in second? Who's going to be on the podium with him? But in this race, it's fun to see these guys like Richard Carapaz. He won it back in 2019, but that's a long time ago. And yet, like he proved even last year in the Tour de France, like he can deliver some punches. And that's just like, so, and then you have guys like Derek Guy who are up there too. And I think it's just interesting, like Simon Yates, it could be his as well. Like he could deliver a blow tomorrow or the, next stage or two, or it's like, he could be that guy that you're just like,
he also put some hurting on Del Toro yesterday. Yeah. Like he saw there was blood in the water and he attacked Del Toro and it was like this guy. I left the stage yesterday thinking Del Toro's done. He's done. Even though he's still in pink, he's done. Yep. I've been enjoying seeing Ineos kind of more traditional racing in the sense of, it's true. I feel like for a long time when they were in this dominant era, they just felt entitled to dictate the race when they didn't have a GC guy for a few years. So it's kind of fun to see them kind of like more traditional riding. I'm liking Egan Bernal. I don't think
such a fun comeback story.
Yeah, after his life-threatening crash and then he's racing strong. I don't think he's going to podium, but it's been fun to watch him. Yeah. Pidcock, that's another highlight. He's not been doing good, and that's okay with me.
I think you're a Pidcock hater.
Hey, if you can make fun of Roglic for crashing on Zwift, then I can throw out a...
That's true. That's fair.
I mean,
he just might not be a Grand Tour guy.
Yes, in all fairness to Pidcock, he's a phenomenal bike racer. I just don't think he's a Grand Tour GC guy. Yeah. And I think that this is kind of showing where, obviously when he goes up against Tade, Jonas, and Remco, and he can't hang with those guys. Everybody knows he can't hang with those guys. Yeah. But these are not the top tier guys in this Giro. Yep. And he's not keeping up with them. I think it's more of just like, okay, like you're a great bike racer at the classics. So don't force yourself into these Grand Tour things if that's okay. Like, Yeah.
I agree, but been a super fun race. I'm excited to see how this thing plays out over these next couple stages. So, but I was today at work when I was watching the highlights. I was just like, Del Toro, go! But he just and I was loving it. I was pumped, man. It was fun. It's fun to watch.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the Giro. Were you surprised at all? Now that you probably know the results, since this is being published at that point where the race is over, have you been surprised at all at the results? We'd love to hear that.
Absolutely. All right. Also, we're going to wrap it up here. We'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below on your thoughts and be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more great content. Until next time, see ya.
See you guys.